With us now is Andrij Dobriansky, who's the Director of Communications and Media for the Ukrainian Congress Committee for America. Always good to have you on the show. So I was talking to a military analyst, Glenn Ignacio, about it last hour. He said, well, does this mean that Trump's basically turning his back on Ukraine? He thought it was a little bit more complicated than that, but what is your take?
I think this is exactly what I was telling my colleagues in Ukraine all last week when they saw President Trump in NATO. Everybody remarked that he had an emotional moment with a Ukrainian journalist. And much like the time when we saw his picture with Zelensky at the Vatican, everybody thought that when he came home, he would be turning the page and looking to support Ukraine even more. And here we are once again, disappointed with the actions of this administration, who's decided to cut and run when Ukraine really needs it. And the really galling thing is that the defense of the Qatar air bases, American air bases, was done on the backs of the real world experience those Patriot batteries had in Ukraine. So this is the thank you that Ukraine gets for helping the United States develop its software even better.
Now, the one thing Glenn did say, although he thought there was, like I said, a couple of different sides to why the U.S. is making this decision. You mentioned the stockpiles and what's been happening in the Middle East, is that if it goes further than this, and again, these reports I don't believe are confirmed yet, but if it goes further than this and goes beyond weapons, then you could have a real problem. Here's more from Ignacio.
What is being pulled back, and we have to get this verified, was there is a discussion that they're pulling back some of the intelligence support. Now, that's the one that concerns me because it's not tied to these missile systems that we've talked about, but it definitely does an impact on Ukraine, and we need to make sure that we give them as much intelligence as possible. Hopefully we get to some kind of neutral territory where Trump can negotiate a peace, but right now, Russia's really holding the upper hand by launching lots of drones and missiles.
You know, or hearing anything about that? Again, all we're hearing today is about these weapons systems that we talked about.
What Ukraine is trying to say is that they haven't received any notification of this. So we're getting this reporting out, whether it's the intelligence or whether it's the Patriots not being delivered. We are getting reports from Poland where a lot of these materials are already ready to ship out that they haven't moved. So Ukraine is trying to say, listen, we haven't heard anything about this. At the same time, Republicans in Congress, including Brian Fitzpatrick, the co-chair of the Ukrainian caucus, wants a meeting with Trump. What's happening? The pastor, Mark Burns from South Carolina, personal pastor to Donald Trump, who visited Ukraine, wants to know what's happening. Mike Pompeo today saying Ukraine never asked for the 82nd Airborne. They just want the weapons to finish the job. And we have to keep asking, why is the United States deciding to cut and run right when Russia has increased in the last 5 months, since Trump became president, increased by 50% all their air attacks on Ukraine?
Is there an argument Zelensky can maybe make, or, you know, talk Trump out of this, do you think? Or?
The problem is that it seems like they have a really good relationship when they get together. The problem is when Donald Trump comes home, we don't know what's happening with the National Security Council. We know that it's been decimated over the last couple of months. We know that less people are working on it. And frankly, we don't know why this Eldridge Colby gets to have this review seemingly by fiat instead of working with his colleagues at the State Department.
Yeah, Colby, the Defense Department official, seems to be behind this. What happens, though, next? I mean, from you hear from inside Ukraine, what's their real fear if they don't have this? What could happen in the short term, and what is short term? I mean, what are you looking at? Things happening faster than they ordinarily would have, or something catastrophic? I mean, what are you looking at?
Well, to repeat what I said earlier, since Trump became president, 50% more attacks have come from Russia since the beginning of this year. That also includes a 37% increase of civilians either killed or wounded, again, since Trump became president. This is not a question about whether I can solve it in 24 hours. This is now a question of these things don't happen on my watch. And unfortunately, in Ukraine, we're seeing people die because of an increased attack. Russia feels emboldened clearly by this administration. And what are the steps that the United States is doing? What is their answer, their fordo for the Ukraine conflict? It doesn't have to be the 82nd Airborne, like Mike Pompeo said,
right.
But certainly we do have the stocks in place today that the Patriots aren't defending the United States right now. We know where they're needed. They're needed to defend our forward bases, and they're needed to defend our allies. And why Ukraine isn't getting them, that's a question that Republicans are asking today.
All right, we'll see if some of those Republicans who have the other issues on this budget bill get in to see the president on any of that. Andrij, thank you. Andrij Dobriansky with us.